We all remember that one person who made a difference, often without even realizing it. This is the story of that person for an entire community. A school lady whose unwavering kindness, often in the shadows, nurtured a profound sense of belonging and love. Get ready to see how seemingly small acts can leave the biggest, most beautiful mark on the world. Her name was Eleanor Vance, but 2 generations of kids at Northwood Elementary, she was simply Mrs. Ellie. For over 40 years, she was a constant, a quiet presence in the bustling school cafeteria. She wasn't a teacher or a principal. She was one of the lunch ladies. But her role extended far beyond serving scoops of mashed potatoes and green beans. Mrs. Ellie was the unofficial guardian of every child's well-being, the silent architect of a culture of giving that still defines the school today. Her story doesn't begin with grand gestures or public accolades. It begins with noticing. It begins with a little boy named Michael, back in 1978, who always seemed to forget his lunch money on Fridays. Instead of sending him to the office, Mrs. Ellie would quietly slide a tray in front of him, giving him a knowing wink and whispering, "Just a little extra today, sweetie. My treat." Michael never forgot that. Years later, he'd admit that his family was struggling immensely, and that Friday lunch was often the most substantial meal he'd have all weekend. Her quiet act wasn't just about food, it was about dignity. Then there was Sarah, a shy girl who always sat alone, her nose buried in a book. Mrs. Ellie noticed her love for reading. One day, she started leaving little notes on Sarah's tray, a riddle, a fun fact, or a question about the book she was reading. It was a simple connection, a thread of acknowledgement in a sea of faces. Sarah began to look forward to lunch, not just for the food, but for her secret correspondence. It was the spark she needed to feel seen, to eventually join the school's book club and make friends who shared her passion. Mrs. Ellie's kindness wasn't just reserved for students. She knew which teachers loved extra gravy, which janitor needed a hot cup of coffee on a cold morning, and which parent volunteer was having a rough day and could use a warm cookie and an even warmer smile. Her domain, the cafeteria, became more than just a place to eat. It was a hub of human connection, a safe harbor in the middle of a busy school day, all orchestrated by her gentle, observant nature. Her official job was to manage food inventory, prepare meals, and clean up. But her real work happened in the moments between. She kept a secret stash of spare buttons and a small sewing kit for wardrobe emergencies. She had a jar of bravery stickers for kids who faced their fear of trying new vegetables. If a child was crying in the corner of the playground, it was often Mrs. Ellie who would wander over, not with probing questions, but with a quiet offer of an apple slice and a listening ear. She seemed to have an almost magical ability to know exactly what a child needed, and it was rarely something that came from the school's budget. It came from her heart. One of the most legendary stories is about the Winter Coat Fund. It was never an official fund, of course. It was just Mrs. Ellie. She noticed children coming to school in thin jackets as the temperatures dropped. Without a word to anyone, she started knitting. She'd knit scarves, hats, and mittens in the evenings. She'd also discreetly visit local thrift stores, buying gently used coats with her own modest salary. The next day, a child in need would be called to the cafeteria to help with a special project and would find a warm coat, hat, and scarf set left behind in the lost and found. Mrs. Ellie would say, "Well, look at that. It's even your size. Why don't you take it so it doesn't get lonely?" No one was ever embarrassed. It was a gift given with such grace that it felt like a happy accident. A bit of magic. For 40 years, these small, consistent acts rippled outward. The children she helped grew up. Michael, the boy who forgot his lunch money, became a successful local business owner. Every year, he makes a massive, anonymous donation to the school's lunch program, ensuring no child ever has to worry about having a meal. Ekosit Elephant. Sarah the she-reader is now a celebrated children's author. Her books often feature a kind, wise character who helps the protagonist find their courage through quiet acts of encouragement. She dedicates every book to the woman who first showed me the power of a single, kind word. The culture Mrs. Ellie built became so. Students who received her kindness started paying it forward. Older kids began looking out for younger ones in the lunch line. A buddy bench appeared on the playground, an idea sparked by watching Mrs. Ellie comfort a lonely child. Students started their own kindness clubs, inspired by the example they saw every single day. She never gave a lecture on charity or gave a speech on compassion. She simply lived it, and her example was more powerful than any lesson plan. When Mrs. Ellie finally retired, the community she had quietly nurtured for 4 decades decided it was time to make some noise. They threw her a surprise retirement party in the school gymnasium. It was packed. Hundreds of people came, former students, their parents, and even their children who were now students at Northwood. One by one, they stood up and shared their Mrs. Ellie story. A grown man tearfully recounted how she'd given him a sticker for trying broccoli, and how it made him feel brave enough to try out for the school play. A woman shared how Mrs. Ellie taught her to tie her shoes, practicing with her every day for a week under a lunch table. The principal revealed the secret of the Winter Coat Fund, and the room erupted in applause and tears. Mrs. Ellie, a woman who had spent her life in the background, was overwhelmed. She stood on the stage, holding a bouquet of flowers, looking out at the sea of faces she had touched. She had never sought recognition. She simply saw a need and filled it, over and over again. She didn't think she was doing anything special. She was just being kind. But that's the profound lesson of her legacy. It's not about the size of the act, but the consistency of the heart behind it. A single act of kindness can be forgotten, but a lifetime of small, dedicated acts of giving creates a tidal wave of goodness. It builds a community. It shapes character. It teaches the most important lesson of all, that everyone has the power to make a difference, right where they are, with what they have. Mrs. Ellie's story is a powerful reminder that our heroes are often not the ones in the headlines. They are the quiet, steady forces for good in our daily lives. The neighbor who always waves, the bus driver who waits an extra second, the cafeteria worker who knows your name. They are the ones who weave the fabric of our communities together, one small, loving thread at a time. Her legacy isn't just in the funds donated or the books dedicated to her. It's in the instinctive kindness of a Northwood student who shares their snack with a classmate. It's in the adult who stops to help someone who has dropped their groceries. It's in the quiet, compassionate spirit that she modeled for 40 years. A spirit that continues to live and breathe in the halls of that school and in the hearts of the thousands of lives she touched. Her life proves that you don't need to be loud to be heard, and you don't need to be in the spotlight to shine. You just need a big heart and a willingness to share it, one small act at a time. Thank you for watching. If this story touched you, consider sharing it with someone who has made a quiet difference in your life. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that celebrate the good in the world. See you next time.